Phoenix here with the Tottenham Spurs 25-26 squad edition transfers. Who do I need to buy, sell, keep, loan? I've been very excited and looking forward to this because Spurs have a lot of incredible youngsters in their team. New manager, of course. You guys know my opinion on that. I didn't understand why Spurs fans, or there were certain Spurs fans, upset with Ange getting sacked. All well and good for the trophy, but you cannot lose that many matches, injuries or not. You cannot lose that many matches as a Spurs manager. I don't understand. You need to set the expectations correct, and it was completely the right decision. And I'm very excited because I think they got the perfect replacement in Thomas Frank. And as I dove into this, I think the squad is perfect. And I really like what Spurs are doing and what they are setting up. So let's get straight into it. With the exits, Forster, of course, basically gone. Reguilon, believe it or not, was still a Spurs player, gone as well. Bissouma has to go. Obviously, those first 2-3 months under Ange, they seem a very distant memory now. This is a player who doesn't have a brain, if I'm going to be honest, and I don't think he should be anywhere near Spurs. It's time to move on. There's rumors about Turkish clubs being interested. Just find a way out. Brian Gill, a player who I had high hopes for before he joined. I liked what I was seeing, but I don't think he suits the English game at all. Lacks that physicality. He'll probably be off to Spain, and this time maybe stay there permanently. Solomon, another player who I had hopes for. I kind of liked what I seen, I'll be honest, in bits, and we'll see what happens, but I don't think there's a place for him at Spurs. I think they'll be looking to move him on. Richarlison. Injuries played a part here, no doubt about it. But again, let's be honest, he just hasn't lived up to expectations. At Everton, he was, in my opinion, incredible. And at Spurs, with the ball at his feet, just not good enough. Hasn't suited the way Ange wanted to play, for sure. Could be better under Thomas Frank. But with the depth Spurs have up front, for me, it makes perfect sense to find a club for Richarlison. And of course, the Argentinian striker who they brought in a couple of seasons ago, again plagued by injuries, which is a shame. But even if there's still a player there, I think it makes sense to move on from him. Loans, Scarlett, I think it makes sense to loan him. This is, of course, going to be the big talking point. What to do with Mikey Moore? You guys know my opinion on him. I think he's the greatest English talent since Wayne Rooney. Mesmerized by the way he plays. I think the only one that will be able to compete with him for England when it comes to actually pure raw talent is Max Doman from Arsenal. But this is a special player. But what I seen last season, there's no doubt that I don't think he's yet ready for the first team. And they have a big decision to make, because what is the definition of ready? A player like this, he can make that jump in a month. He can make that jump in 2 months, 3 months, and he'll be there. And then he won't look back. Obviously, we've seen the way Barca have handled, of course, the Lamine Yamal situation, for example. I'm not saying he's got the Lamine Yamal talent, but let me tell you, he's not a million miles away. So if you're good enough, you play. But again, with the attacking depth Spurs have, I'm a little bit worried. The reason I think he should go out on loan is because he may end up in a situation where he's not going to play as many games as he should. And then that's going to affect his development a little bit. With Lamine, yeah, sure, they play him. They play them every game in order to get to this position he's in. So that's the decision they have to make. At the very least, you could always recall him, let's say, in January and see how he is in that situation. But I would find a club. Young is another player who is mega talented. I don't know enough about him like I do about Mikey. From what I'm being told, he's already impressing Spurs stuff quite a lot. But again, you think the sensible thing with the depth Spurs have would be to loan him, but we'll see what happens. And Ashley Phillips is last but not least. Watch out for this guy. I do think he'll be playing for Spurs in the future. Had a very successful loan, I believe, at Stoke. it would make sense for me to continue that at least for one more season, especially with the cover Spurs have defensively. Going into the ins, believe it or not, I don't think Spurs need to make many big moves. And I'll explain more when I show you the squad at the end of what I have in mind. Obviously, Matthias Tell has already been bought, confirmed. I wasn't the biggest fan of what I seen, I'll be honest. But there were glimpses. There were glimpses for 35 million. It's a risk worth taking. But he needs to up it up. He needs to step it up because what he displayed in those 6 months, that's not good enough. It's not consistent enough. A signing who, of course, I am very excited for is Kudus. Basically confirmed, done deal. I cannot believe the likes of United, even Chelsea, to some degree Liverpool were not after this guy. To ignore the West Ham fans claiming, oh, he's not even that good, or he had a bad season and this and that. Sure, the year before, I kid you not, at times it was him solo. I still have a game in my head, etched in my memory, when Chelsea destroyed West Ham by 6-0, I believe. He was one of the best players on the pitch. How can you be one of the best players on the pitch and your team's lost 6-0? Last season, he went to shit in every single department for West Ham. I don't think he's to blame. You can question his attitude. West Ham fans said he was looking for a way out. But his football ability, for me, better than Mbuemo, better than Cunha, better than these guys in a heartbeat. I'm very excited to see what he'll bring to the table in a Spurs shirt. And of course, the final one, only 3 I think they need, is the man whose saga is going on at the moment. I think this will end up with him being a Spurs player. It may take longer than it should because, of course, Forest at the moment are crying about everything. But I don't see a way where he doesn't end up a Spurs player. And with that in mind, this is how the Spurs squad looks like. Now, immediately with Thomas Frank, there's flexibility here. So we'll go into that a bit. Vicario and Kinski. Vicario, there's questions. Some of the stuff that he was doing last season are unacceptable. You cannot be that poor from set pieces. But we'll see if Thomas Frank and his stuff can improve him. Because in terms of shot-stopping ability, he is absolutely incredible. But we'll see. Maybe Kinski can push him further than he did last season. I've kept Pedro Porro here, even though I said last season, in a back 4, I'd be looking to sell. But I wouldn't be surprised if Spence pushes him. But with Thomas Frank, there's flexibility where the 4 can end up at 3 at the back comfortably. And in a 3 at the back, Pedro Porro can be a cheat code. He's got tremendous output for a defender that we know. So I'm sticking. I'll keep him. Spence, I've listed him right back, but of course he can basically play left back. I've put Ben Davies as cover for Odogoi. Like I said, it probably will be Spence. There may be a need for another fullback. We'll see. Centre-backs, Van den Ven, Romero. It's crucial if Spurs can keep Romero. Rival fans, I don't understand. They moan and whine and cry about Romero and say he's overrated. He's one of the best defenders in the league if you actually watch football. World Cup winner, incredible mentality, and he's also toned down that aggressiveness and getting red carded and whatnot. He's got that more in control. It's just the injuries, right, for both of these centre backs. But this is where I'm excited because Danso I thought was a fantastic signing, and he's shown it last season. I don't think he was bad at all. Rather, he had a very good 6 months. But this player right here, Vuskovic, if you don't know, you will soon get to know. One of the highest potential centre backs that there are in world football, and this guy scores for fun. I can't remember the last time I've seen a centre back at that age score as many goals as he does. He will play a big part for Spurs this season. He's not going out on loan. He will stay. And then of course you have Dragosin as well, who had that terrible injury, but he can also cover for these guys. This comes the big decision because the first thing, the number one thing, let's put it that way, that I kept saying about Spurs last season They need a number 6. They need a 6, they need a 6, they need a 6. I can't believe I've made this video and I didn't put a 6, but I'll explain my... or said Spurs should bring a 6. I'll explain my reasoning. Bentancur is a good player. If you don't think he is, you're not watching as closely as you should. 1 year left on his contract, I believe. I'd keep him. Now, here's where it gets delicate. Obviously, said Bissouma out. You've still got Sarr, you've still got Archie Gray. Archie Gray had a... Listen, let's call it like it is. A disastrous season. He played at a position, first season in the Prem. Here's the problem. Can Spurs win the league this season? Probably not. It's going to be an ultra-competitive Premier League. If you bring in a number 6, you block Archie Gray's development. Same thing. If you bring in a centre-back, you will block Vuskovic. Same thing. If you bring a number 8, you can potentially block Lucas Bergvall. And Lucas Bergvall, for me, has to be starting next season. He has to start. He's my opinions, I told you before he even joined. I wanted him at my Inter. He was linked to Barcelona. Spurs pulled off an incredible signing. This is a special footballer. Kulusevski, that's his best position. Was outrageous in the first 6 months. He cannot play on the wing. And this is where, though, if he will play on the wing, this is where Thomas Frank will be more sensible. I don't think Thomas Frank has ideas to play with touchline wingers. That's a big mistake Ange made. He had Son as a touchline winger. He had Kulusevski sometimes as a touchline winger. They're not touchline wingers. They let these players overlap. Forget about this inverted nonsense. Let them overlap. Let them provide the width. Whether you play a back three, they'll be the ones providing the width. They'll tuck in. And Kulusevski can play in that position. And then, of course, Gibbs-White / Madison. What Gibbs-White will bring to the team, apart from the whole homegrown, which is important, is energy. You need energy. The reason I do believe that the midfield three didn't work for Spurs last season is they did lack energy. Kulusevski, Madison, and Neves Bentancur, there's no balance. I don't think Bentancur, Bergvall, Madison has balance. But Gibbs-White and Madison, there's light years difference in the amount of ground they will cover. So I do think this will work. Even Gibbs-White, Kulusevski, Gray / Bentancur, Sarr, it can work. These are players with incredible potential. Some obviously will be ready-made. Kulusevski ready, Madison ready, Gibbs-White ready. I think there's a very healthy balance in that midfield. Even though there is big questions being asked of Bentancur to stay fully fit, and Archie Gray has to take another level in his natural position. Then Kudus has to start, will be fantastic, can play left, right, even down the middle. Otobert, there is a potential player there. So, again, don't put pressure on him, but I do think he can. And he'll provide something different to most of these guys because he is a touchline winger if needed. He can stay wide, dribble past players. Brennan Johnson, I'm not his biggest fan. I think he's incredibly overrated. He's good at one thing, which is getting at the back post, stepping it in. I don't think he should be starting. I would rather Kudus, Odobert here, Kudus, Tell. But I've put him as a starter because I do think Thomas Frank likes him. I think he wanted him at Brentford, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll assume he'll start. Then Solanke, who I thought had an incredibly underrated season last year. He didn't score as many goals, but his work ethic, what he done for the team, I think he's the perfect number 9 for this system. He can bring so many players into the game, and you can get goals from everywhere. Look, Gibbs-White, Madison, Kulusevski, Bergvall, Kudus, Tell, Johnson. There's a lot of goals there. And then comes the big decision about Son. I would have let Son go. What I seen last season to me confirms that he's at the end. I don't know how much he has left to offer, but it's his decision. It's looking like he's going to stay. And if he stays, all I'm saying is please don't have him hugging the touchline anymore. And I think Thomas Frank is sensible and smart enough to know that he's not going to use him like that. And whether he plays as a backup striker or whether, let's say, Spurs shift to a 3-4-2-1 and he'll play more here, he'll have a much bigger impact than he had last season. But if it was my decision, I would move him on. I am mega excited for the Spurs team. It is a very competitive Premier League, but I do think within the next 3 years, this Spurs team can easily challenge for the Premier League title. I do think there's another golden era awaiting Spurs, a bit similar to, I'd say, how they were in 2016. Yes, there's no Harry Kane, but the rest of the team, I really like what I am seeing, and I think Thomas Frank is the right man in charge. Let me know anything you believe I got wrong, anything you guys would change, and I'll catch you guys on the next one of these, which will be, I believe, Milan we have coming up. We also still have City, Atletico, so we do have some teams coming up left. Have a good one. Phoenix out.